everyone. Thank you for joining in on our California Young Republican Federation communications training. I'm Cynthia Cowie. I am the press secretary for CYRF, and I also run our communications committee. And then I'm going to let Alice introduce herself as well.
Hi, my name is Alice, and I'm the social media director for CYRF.
Perfect. So I really appreciate y'all giving us the gift of time. So it's really important, for me to just make sure we start and end on time. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you all. And then we're actually also recording this. So following the training, we are going to be sharing it on YouTube. So feel free to take notes as we follow along, but we all will also have access to be able to view this training on your own time as well. So this is an overview for young Republicans. I know that there, is a lot of talk when we talk about the political communication space, in particular the campaign side. A lot of people, there's a lot of advice, there's a lot of different, strategies in this regards, but the biggest thing that I somewhat agree with is when people say that social media, it's not necessarily correlated to votes. There's a lot of truth to that, but I'm of the opinion when it comes to running and fostering a thriving young Republican organization, communications is the cornerstone of it all. Speaking from the local side, we do have a lot of fast growing chapters for young Republicans across the state of California. I would venture to say that their membership has grown because of the digital community that they fostered across multiple digital ecosystems. So this is a quick overview. We're going to be discussing how you can improve not only within your Young Republican chapter, but even those, if we have some people here today listening in and watching this training today, if you are involved in other political spaces, whether it's think tanks, whether it's your county party, there's a lot of different ways that the tips that we're sharing today can be applicable not only to young Republicans, but also anything that you want to explore and even in the private sector. So we're going to talk about different ways to improve social media, email marketing, website, media relations. Even though this PowerPoint is more practical for young Republicans, I definitely want to make sure that this training is adding a lot of value to you all and that you can walk away learning something new today. So to kick it off, I'm going to have Alice share more about social media. And like I said, Cynthia Cowie, press secretary, Alice is our social media director.
Can we move to the next slide?
Oh, it's on can you see it? It's the Instagram, Twitter.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not loading on the screen. Yeah, I guess with social media, you kind of just want to have a very standard handle, like having your club's name and Young Republicans or YRs, and Instagram and Facebook kind of like the more important ones to start on to get kind of a growing audience. And then there's also Twitter, X, as well as other things like you could use YouTube or LinkedIn that are convenient as well. And I feel like for young people, it's definitely going to be Instagram right now, but also maybe they're reaching some audiences that are a little bit older on Facebook. And then I think just mostly aesthetics are the most important. So having really good graphics, catchy kind of logos, catchy images that kind of draw young people in, and posting a lot of photos from events and making sure you have like photos of a lot of people and not in various different events, not just photos of like formal meetings, but also things that are more fun, like we recently did like a North chapter boat outing, North regional boat outing, and we posted a lot of photos and that got a lot of engagement because it was kind of a fun activity that you wouldn't really do that often. And yeah, also things like video marketing, having some short form stories on Instagram gets a lot of engagement for people who are just want to watch something quick about a club event, or like posting a video of the event you're currently having and getting people excited about it. That's always good ways to boost engagement as well. Okay, and that's all for me.
Apologize, everyone, having some issues with the screen sharing, but we'll get that situated shortly. So just so everyone can kind of get a grasp in regards to this. So this was the slide that Alice was speaking about. So that's the graphics that we have for California Young Republican Federation. So similar to that as well, some other platforms that everyone should consider is LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And also in addition to that, if there's video marketing and other short form content such as Instagram stories, a lot of publicity has come from video marketing, and a lot of chapters have seen a lot of great success when you're able to share different behind the scenes in regards to different events that you're doing. And even just kind of publicizing different things that are going on within your county, whether that's the political space or also in the events that you're doing. Social media has been such a critical thing. When we've observed different local chapters, when they've done membership surveys, a lot of members have heard of Young Republicans because of the social media real estate that they've had. So we definitely, social media is a critical thing. It not only you have the ability to be able to do behind the scenes, but you can also have the ability to share culture in regards to what's going on with your local chapter or anything that you're doing within politics. So the next thing that we recommend for Young Republicans and also, anything, in regards to that is email marketing. So when it comes to email marketing, there is that little fear that a lot of people have in regards to let me see if this can get better. I'm going to see if I could fix the screen really fast. Hey, Cole, for some reason, I've been going in and out and the screen sharing, like it says that it's paused. So are you able to be a host and basically see if you could share it? But I've been trying in and out and it's not fixing. Can everyone see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can everyone see it widescreen now?
Hey, Cynthia, do you want me to share it in presenter form for you?
Yes, because for some reason I've been going in and out. It says it's paused, so
Yeah,
it's having like a start.
Do not worry. I totally had a hard time with it last week with Joseph's. Let me just load it on my end, and I will get that started.
Okay, perfect. So while she's loading through it, I'm going to actually go ahead and just continue. So in regards to email marketing, a lot of fear that people have is they're really scared about.
You should what?
Hey, Ariana, can you mute
Mute.
yourself?
Yep, I'm going to do it. Sorry.
So in regards to email marketing, a lot of people have fear in regards to scaring off people. I know that in the political space, a lot of people, and even myself included, sometimes we get really turned off in regards to all the texting and all the emails, especially when it comes to different fundraising deadlines. So I understand that there could be some sort of hesitation in regards to stepping into different forms of marketing, especially when there is like a certain stigma in regards to it. But the one thing that we encourage for young Republicans is that you are going to have a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of potential prospective members and a lot of current members who they might not be as active with going to events, but they do rely on emails to be able to know what's going on with the local chapter. They also rely on us to be able to know what's going on with the political space, with the county party, and just different things, especially for young people who might not be as plugged in with, all the different modes of and all the different events. And so I actually argue that for young Republicans, if you can venture into email marketing, you have the ability to really capitalize on different ways, not only to communicate with your audience, but also have the ability to branch out and let people know across the state and even across the country what is going on in your local chapter and what are all the exciting things that's going on, along with everything that you have accomplished past then. We have local chapters in California who really utilize it as, kind of like a recruiting mechanism and a way to be able to showcase different things that they like to gatekeep and kind of keep off other social media platforms to kind of showcase how, it's basically the only way you're able to find out certain things is if you are plugged into the newsletter. So if you see on the screen here, what we recommend as protocol is to focus on doing it once a month. It's a good way to not only keep like a good monthly digest and schedule, but it's also a way for people to be in the loop and be able to have something for people to look forward to. Have this consistent schedule not only will have the ability for people to plug in, but it also is a way if there is some sort of hesitation of jumping in to where you're not spamming people, focusing on once a month is fine. There is going to be some scenarios, especially when we jump into the election season, where you might need to, depending on how events are or things you want to promote, to where it is going to be appropriate to send emails maybe 2 or 3 times a month. I anticipate that when there's more events for volunteering and different get out to vote events, there is going to be some more opportunities and ways for you to communicate with your audience. And so if that's the case, don't hesitate. Whoever is for you, they're going to stay plugged in for the journey. And if they're not, it's better that they unsubscribed and they can support your young Republican or political organization from the sidelines. And so that's perfectly okay. But these are, our key tips to recommend. Some other, tools and some things to look into. I recommend that you start with MailChimp because if you have up to 500 contacts, it's free. And then, from there, it gets a little bit, there's more prices involved. So when you kind of reach up to levels for $2,500, or I'm sorry, 2,500 contacts, then it'll get to $40 a month. Another newsletter tool that is utilized for young Republicans, for California young Republicans, we actually utilize Constant Contact. And so when you reach to 500, up to 500 contacts, it's $12 a month. When you move up the ladder from 2,500 contacts, it gets to $50 a month, and then it kind of adds up from there. To kind of give a bandwidth, basically, we've seen young Republican chapters go anywhere from 500 to 2,500 in our California space. So definitely, especially if you're able to get a donor to be able to sponsor, it's something that's very, very doable because you're looking at anywhere from 60 to anywhere from $500 a year. So on paper, that's actually, pretty affordable. And it is a tool that we would recommend to be able to invest in. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So another thing that we recommend for young Republicans is to actually, along with having email and social media, is a website. So For some people, it is a little bit of a heavier lift because the first thing when we think of websites is content. And it definitely does take a little bit more of an investment because, when you look at, our website and just kind of that example, it's pretty simple because you can just have stock graphics and then you can have like a tagline and then you just kind of need to add the board. But the reality of the situation is sometimes depending on how much content you want to add, along with different updates that happen, it is a little bit more of an investment. And so if you have a Young Republican chapter, and typically for leadership, it's usually like your creative director, your social media director, or your press secretary, or communications director. They usually are the point of contact in regards to doing this. So there's multiple routes that we would recommend. If you want to take a traditional route where you have a website, the first step we would recommend is purchasing a domain through Namecheap. It's the most affordable way where you can purchase a domain and then being able to, start from the ground. So let's just say, for example, it's Central Valley Young Republicans. So we recommend purchasing that domain, depending on if you want to go the shorter route, which is Central Valley YR or Central Valley Young Republicans. I recommend just purchasing both, so that way you can just kind of park it. So you would pick one of those. We also recommend, if you decide to purchase a domain, we recommend going the .org, just because like as a nonprofit, it's easier to be able to raise funds for your Young Republican chapter. So that's something to keep in mind as well. After you purchase the domain, you can build out your website through different customer management services or other CMS platforms. So the typical ones that people use and that I've had experience in and that are very user friendly, where you don't have to know SQL or other coding languages, is WordPress, Squarespace, and Wix. If the website route is something that is a lot of effort and it's something that you don't want to invest in, we still recommend that you have some sort of space to where you can plug different links because there are going to be times, like as you build out your Young Republican chapter, where you're going to be able, you need to be able to have ways for people to RSVP. You probably want to be able to have ways for donors to donate. You probably will want to have links available for social media and a bunch of other things as well. So if that's the case, I would recommend either, link in bio or Linktree. And those are easy websites or I should say, platforms where you can kind of build, a website hub to where you have the ability to plug in a lot of different links all at once. So a lot of our chapters, along with having a website, they also have like a Linktree, alternative. Or we've also seen a lot of Young Republican chapters who don't have a website and use this as well. But being able to have a central way for not only potential members, current members, stakeholders, the community to be able to see the branding that you have on a more professional level, but also being able to have access to different links available is something that's important as well. Next slide, please. So the last portion that I'm going to be talking about is media relations. So for San Diego Young Republicans in particular, there has been a lot of success with that chapter in regards to engaging with the press. But so even though for Young Republicans, it is kind of like a new space to engage with, I am of the opinion that Young Republicans have a space and an area of opportunity to really engage and kind of change the narrative. I am of the opinion that they're actually, in the media space, not only on online and TV, there's actually a huge need for conservatives and Republicans to be able to be a voice. In fact, a lot of media outlets, they really are usually scrambling around to be able to find people that can kind of give the alternative opinion in regards to the current events. And so there is this narrative in regards to like, oh, like conservatives, they toss around like fake news. And to me, I just view that as such a missed opportunity because there is that chance for us to be able to share our voice, give the perspective, be able to change hearts and minds. But in my personal experience as well and observing San Diego young Republicans, the one thing I've noticed is that young Republicans actually have an advantage because the media spaces actually really desire, hearing the young point of view. And so if you have people that are ambitious and, want to be able to get trained and, have that desire to be in the spotlight and be an on the spot spokesperson, there is a huge need, an area of opportunity for young Republicans to step in. I also anticipate when elections pick up, in particular in the national space and then the statewide space as well, and in your local communities and counties as well, there is going to be a heightened, urgency and request to be able to give commentary on what's going on in the campaign trail, what is going on with all the different campaigns, who did you endorse, do you forecast anything that's going to happen in November? And there could be some area of opportunities in regards to what's going to following election night, like what were the results and what do you make of like the future of the country and things of that nature. So I would use this as a huge area of opportunity to not only hone in on these skills, but also make your young Republican chapter be visible to where the media spaces would take you seriously and also just take you personally. And so some ways that you can expand on the media relations side is your young Republican chapter should have a media list. There's no right or wrong way to put it. There's some chapters where they have in their email marketing platform, they have, their lists or segments where it's membership and there's media. So if you choose to, do media advisories or press releases, and that's something you could Google and kind of learn how to do on your own. You can kind of make it from there. Some other chapters, they've made media lists through Excel and Google Sheet. And so what we would recommend is making a list of your local TV stations and local online and print publications. So that would include, the newspapers, if there's like a Tribune or, an online journal or business journal or things of that nature, local TV stations as well. You could expand and do statewide and national stations as well. But if you are a chapter that has never done this before, it is going to take some extensive time to be able to build this out. So recommend starting local. And another thing to kind of keep in mind too, there is a lot of turnover in the media space. So it is a constant, you have to put a concentrated effort to kind of check in, just make sure the right point of contacts are the same. Some other things to kind of keep in mind, when you're building out your media list, you are going to run into like the same reporters or whatnot, because depending on if you get coverage for your event, it is going to be the same reporters because of their shifts that they do, but they would not necessarily be the people that you pitch or who you would ask to get covered. Usually it is the assignment desk editor. It's the booking producers. So those are the people that I would recommend you have on your media list. When you have events, there is differences between press releases and media advisories. Press releases are good if you want to make media statements and make certain comments in regards to what's going on in your county or anything that's going on with that. Sorry, Honor, can you go back, please, to the media relations? Thank you. Media advisories, if you have an event where you want to ask coverage, you can send that out in advance. Some other ways, aside from engaging with the media and press, you can have your board members and also your general members write letters to the editor and opinion editorials, which is also known as op-eds. Letters to the editor are pretty short. They could be 100 to 150 words, and it's in response to what's going on in the publication. So for example, there's like a housing bill going on, you're able to write a letter to the editor responding to what is on those publications. For opinion editorials, are also known as op-eds, it's your opportunity to expand upon any opinions that you have. So I would recommend leaning into any kind of pressing issues or any particular current event that is happening and responding to it. And occasionally you have the opportunity to get asked for coverage and to get interviewed if your opinion editorial as well. Lastly, if you have these opportunities and you get asked for political commentary, prepare talking points. It doesn't necessarily, typically it is the president or vice chair that is the spokesperson for your chapter. But if not, it could be the press secretary, communications director, or it could be anyone that feels comfortable with being able to, be on the spot, and anyone that is willing to be able to be on the record and be in print or on TV. So I think that's it. Sorry, on the next slide. So although the presentation and just kind of the setup wasn't perfect, I do hope, irregardless of all the technology issues, that there was a lot of value that was added today. In conclusion, as mentioned previously, there's a lot of sage advice in regards to political campaigns, whether social media matters, where that converts votes. But when we put on communications and speak in the lens for young Republicans, because they're on their phone all the time, communications can make or break the success, not only just with young Republicans, but with think spaces. Your digital real estate and your brand has the ability to make or break your brand and how the public and also your membership views you. And there's other methods you could do that: social media, email marketing, website, and also engaging with the press. You have the opportunity to utilize all four, or you could pick one or the other. There isn't a right or wrong way to go about it. Whether you do all or only one of them. What I would recommend is really prioritizing and figuring out what are the ways on which we want to increase our membership, what are the ways in which we want to be known, and take advantage of the opportunity that is available with communications to improve your branding and increase your membership. So with that includes, the speaking portion and the value portion in regards to the information. That's our contact information if you have information. So if you're building out a social media channel for the first time, if you are trying to figure out what content to put on your email newsletter for the first time, if you are building out a website for the first time, or you have a website right now, you want to get an audit on what else you need, or when you get asked for political commentary, if you need media training or you need some perspective on how to go about it, we both are seasoned and we're trained on how to do this on the state level and also within our local chapters. So feel free to email